What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Take That, and we're returning to Progress 2011, and the next track is Kidz with a Z. I don't know if the Z as opposed to an S will have any relevance, but Kidz is a term used more literally for children, but also more figuratively in a number of different ways, meaning people who are perhaps emotionally or psychologically immature even though they are legally or technically or biologically adults, people who retain a sense of excitement and wonder at the world, people who behave in a way that is maybe silly or rambunctious. I feel like there are any number of possibilities in relation to adults with the application of this term, but I think in all such cases, or at least in many of them that come to my mind right now, there is a suggestion of an inner youth, even if on the exterior they are actually fully grown adults. So I do wonder if that type of metaphor will be at play. Maybe it could be about a youth movement in society or culture, though again, the Z seems to give it a bit more of a lightness, whereas if it was kids with an S, notably, the film Kidz, that was spelled with an S, it's about these kids that are young, but they're behaving in dangerous, reckless, or self-destructive ways. So I feel like there could be something there, and yet the Z, or the Z if you prefer, somehow makes that less likely, at least as it seems to be on the surface. I'll see what I can pick up on a first listen. This is Take That, the track is Kidz, with a Z, and it's the fourth tune on their 2011 album Progressed, or Progressed. Sounds like marching with boots on. Oh, I like that. The last four before the measure change in boot tromps. Electric buzz. I knew it was going to end very suddenly. I knew that wouldn't be a fade out. But it was even more clever than I expected. Wow, so yeah, that's a great tune, and it was the seriousness of the themes as I discerned them anyway, which again, it was a first listen, so maybe I'm not hearing all the lines correctly or with the right angle, but it was belied by the lightness of the sonics in some regards, and I like that sort of juxtaposition where it's a tune that has a danceable, energetic vibe, but when you hear the lines, it's like, oh wow, this is about more serious ideas. But yes, when it starts, I thought the boots marching was, the idea of authorities or law enforcement, the military, taking to the streets, and maybe that's part of it, but in response, not as an initial or primary action, because it sounds like it's saying, the adult world and the old guard, the ancient regime, it has existed in a way that sees tradition and order and authority and structure as being immutable, as being inevitable, as being desirable. But the kids with a Z, and indeed maybe representing a truly younger generation as we at this point got into the 2010s and are well and truly beyond the 20th century, when perhaps the most brutal and concentrated ramifications of older ways of thinking and behaving and technological devices that are wielded by humans that are like emotionally or psychologically kids but are adults making big decisions for governments and so on. There's that disconnect, and again, I've been going through Sagan recently, Carl Sagan's Cosmos, and he talks about, in episodes I haven't yet got to, the way that our technological abilities have surpassed our psycho-emotional and cultural growth, and that's a dangerous combination. It's this technological adolescence where we have the wherewithal and understanding of a more long-lived species, but with the maturity and the ability to manage our affairs that is perhaps a more irrational or impulsive or youthful sort of level. So it sounds like maybe this idea is that there's this younger generation that's not going to stand for this anymore, that will take to the streets and will strive for peace and not the old ways of nationalism and war and violence and authoritarian government control. And that means there's going to be trouble, because those forces that have been ingrained for so long in so many places around the world, they're not going to take that lightly. They're not just going to lay down arms willingly and say, you know what, you younger folks, you're right, we need new ways of thinking, or at least by and large they're not going to do that. So obviously there are exceptions, there are anomalies where people who are older are inspired by a younger generation and their different way to approach things, and perhaps a more international sentiment, but that won't come easy, and so there will be trouble. So it feels like it's making a pretty considerable point about humans or humanity overall, and maybe humanity as it relates to generational divergence, discord, and maybe conflict, specifically as it relates to the 21st century and an emerging set of youth movements that, maybe they don't agree on everything depending on where you are, maybe they have different motivations, maybe they have different impetus behind taking to the streets, but this idea that there's an old guard that is going to be confronted with a youthful energy and movement, perhaps culminating in clashes in the streets, whether that's more literal and violent or at least more ideological. That seems very much reflective of what I heard, which again is sort of set against this very danceable, electric and buzzing tune. I do very much like the vocals when they break free and sort of launch to another level when it gets to the chorus, so I think there are some moments sonically that might be conceptually related to what's happening thematically. So a really cool one. I enjoyed it. Thank you again to Michaela for sending not only this album but a couple other Take That albums as well, so we have much to go. Let me know what you think here, and I will see you next time. Peace.